Hello, I'm Eric Hodson, Chairman of Staplehurst Monarchs Junior Football Club, and it gives me great pleasure to give an introduction to a documentary which we have prepared to celebrate 50 years of the club in 2021. The club has grown beyond belief over those 50 years. We now have 10 boys teams, 4 ladies teams, totalling 190 youngsters, all for the benefit of the village and beyond. We have incredible support from our parents, incredible support from managers, and a very small working committee. It's an incredible success story, and I hope some of the tales and some of the film you're now about to see will prove that to be the case.
So when the club first started, and we were the next generation, or the second generation after that, so we had the initial guys, which was Jeff Chipfield's team, and my brother was involved, and Martin Cleary and guys like that, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, that's right.
And then we had teams with the following years, Tim Abbott and Paul Curtis and a lot of players like that. And then we came into our first year was the under-12s, which was about 3 or 4 years after the initiation of the club.
That's right. I remember it well. It was we all met in the Margaret Howard Hall in Staplehurst, and from about 9, I think it was, when I joined the club, and started playing a few friendlies first, and then we finally, when we was under 12s, managed to get into the league. But I think that we was in Division 3 then, Pat, was it?
Yeah, they called it Division 3, but it was actually, the under-14s had a Division 1 and 2, and we were the first division of the under-12s, but they, I've still got the medal, which when we came runners-up in that division, it said Division 3. I remember being a bit disappointed because I considered it Division 1 at the time, and Lionel Henson was our coach, wasn't he?
He was, bless him, Lionel. Sadly, no longer with us, but he was a great man, wasn't he?
He was a lovely guy and really put us through it with training and that sort of thing.
He did, yeah.
So it's a long time ago now.
It is indeed. It is. My first memory, perhaps, of when the kids were doing that training before we even started, was that half of the boys would be chasing Daddy Longlegs across the pitch and more interested in those than the football. But of course, from there, 10, 12 years later, we come quite a long way, really.
Yeah, we came a long way. I still, I was thinking about before we got together today, thinking about those early days though, and I think we knew as soon as we got those boys together, we knew that there was something.
They were a good size,
quite extraordinary, and even some of those early matches that were almost embarrassing. The level of difference we had between our boys and some of the teams that we were playing against. It was really exciting.
Yeah, it was. Why did we do it? Well, that was the start, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We
Definitely.
were successful though, wasn't we?
We had a very good team, and a lot of us were at Angley School together, and so our school team was a similar team, and we did finish runners-up that first year. I remember also we won the consolation, what they called the Consolation Cup, which was teams that were knocked out in the first round of the cup that went back into it. But again, we were playing against older kids.
Yeah, that's right,
so subsequently we went back and we won that. So the first year was very good.
Yeah.
I remember I was quite pleased with it. I got chosen for the league rep team that year.
That's right.
But it was very Maidstone based, really. Most of the players from Maidstone, but the following years after that, where we had done so well, a lot of our team got chosen.
Yeah, the majority of the team did represent Maidstone rep side, didn't they?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
And again, that was a successful team as well.
Yeah, because our main rivals who won the league that year were Maidstone Crusaders at the time, and I remember the older team, the first team that I just mentioned with Jeff and Duncan and Dave Patient and all those guys involved, their rivals were Crusaders at the time as well.
Yeah.
Very strong team. There was other teams, South Park Rangers, Maidstone Nomads,
Castle Colts,
Castle Colts, Senacre United.
Yeah.
Mainly Maidstone-based teams, weren't they?
Parkwood Jupiters.
Parkwood Jupiters,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I still keep in contact with a few of the players that we used to play against, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh,
Some of the
really?
old- Yeah, yeah.
The fact that we had boys that were all from what we call in Staplehurst a village. I don't know whether it is a village anymore, but the fact that we had them all from the village, and the fact that they were at school together, and so many of those boys stayed together through all of that time, I still think is quite remarkable,
Yeah.
right? Because you think about the rivalries we had across the course of time, and they changed, but
Yeah.
they weren't teams that were built off a nucleus of a local
No,
geography
quite often
like
not. No. Yeah, because that first season it was Vinters, wasn't it? They were the big rivals.
that.
Goal difference was what it came down to in the end to win that first one.
And what was it? It was in the 100. Did we over 100 goals?
I
we'd scored, wasn't it?
can't remember, but
Yeah.
there was a lot.
Yeah. So we had that game against Larkfield where we had celebrated our 100th goal in the season, like about halfway through
So
the season.
you had celebrated.
I celebrated.
For the whole team, yes,
I
I recall.
celebrated on behalf of the whole team as George Musgrove scored his 9th goal of the game, I think it was.
Which was incredible, wasn't it? 24-0.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, you didn't even play 90 minutes then, did we? It was only 40 minutes
Yeah.
in total.
Yeah.
And you think 24 goals in 40 minutes, that's like literally they score a goal, we get the ball back, they score another goal, and so it went
Yeah.
on and on.
Yeah, exactly. So you said that was me that was being the noisy one. So
Always.
so what was the truth of the matter? Because I've always wondered. We were co-managers there. What was going on in your head?
Well, I remember writing at one point, whether it was on the website or whatever, I can't remember exactly, but I described myself as ever seeking the glory as Batman and you as Robin. So that was the relationship.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. But that probably says a lot about your ego, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean, in reality, it was all to do with the warm-ups in the games.
Of course, I think
Wasn't it?
Max will recall that later on. Yes, but I suppose it was only because I had to go to the meetings because you had a proper job and I didn't. So I did all the sort of admin stuff, and I think that's why I got put down as the manager.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter, did it?
No. We led together. We led as a team, didn't we?
We had a fabulous committee at the time, obviously Chip Chipfield, Doug Curtis,
Yeah.
Lionel Henson,
Bob Robbins.
Bob Robbins, John Chauvin, and others.
Yeah.
And then when we moved up the division into the under 13s, because the format at the time was not like it is today, where you didn't go from under 12s to under 13s. It went from under 12s straight to under 14s.
That's correct, yeah.
So we were thrown in the deep end against all these kids a year older than us, and we fought our corner, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
But subsequently, the following year in the under 14s, we did really well again, didn't
Yeah. We come into I think we was unbeaten one season, didn't we?
we? Yeah.
We won the double.
Won the double. That's right.
What was the thing that made you most excited about being part of that? Because I still now that it's over, I miss it like a massive part of my life.
I talk to people about it from at various points and still regale bits and pieces but the overall feeling, and having played as a kid for the Monarchs, and then played for the men's team at Staplehurst, to then get involved obviously with the kids was, for me, it was like completing the circle. And I guess the most important bit for me was those kids that started with us at 6 and 7 years old and then were still there when we were 18 years old.
Yeah.
Well, they were 18 years old. Fabulous.
Yeah, and that, I mean,
none of them have ever bought us a pint, though, have they?
Never.
For all that effort that we put in.
Not even despite some of them working now. Has that happened? But that was, I think that was really special, and it wasn't like there weren't teams that were coming after our players. I mean, that shouldn't be happening in kids football. But we lost players, didn't we?
Yes.
Along the way, despite we have that lovely nucleus, we lost players because other teams saw that we had something quite special going on, and they wanted a part of that.
Yeah, without doubt. And I think some of some of the parents obviously inevitably feel aspirational about their kids, and so that obviously some of the kids went for that reason. But it didn't make any difference because the nucleus was there, and then the one or two that came in and added, it was brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
And then bizarrely for me, obviously having to take very much a back seat halfway through all of that, and then I was very fortunate, as I look at it now, to come in right at the end and have that last season. I mean, that was special for me on a very personal level, to be back with the lads sort of week to week, and then although we lost, get to the cup final was incredible. So
yeah.
That's again completed another circle from right at the start to right at the end. It was brilliant.
I wonder if the boys know how lucky they were to go and play that many cup finals.
To have us. Is that what you were going to say?
I think that's probably where I was coming from. But no, I think my question was more the observations more how lucky they were to have played cup finals at a professional football club. The number of times they did. I mean, the sense of occasion for that. I certainly in my playing career didn't get the opportunity to do that kind of stuff. I think they probably did embrace it because they always turned on a performance when we got to those cup finals.
Yeah, win or lose, and we won quite a few, didn't we? So
yeah.
And do you remember how we used to play in different leagues as well, Ed?
I can remember playing on a Saturday, playing on a Sunday morning, and then a Sunday afternoon, where we was in 3 different leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my mum having to wash the kit
in between
on a Saturday and trying to get it dry for a Sunday. Yeah, so that the kit was dry for Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, because we had the Wilder Kent team. There was a Wilder Kent league at the time. There was obviously the Maidstone District Primary League.
Yeah.
And then we played for the Maidstone representative team. And I remember one weekend as well, we actually played for our school. So we played 4 games in the weekend. We played Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So I don't really take on board what these professional footballers are moaning about too many matches. But they were absolutely good times.
My knees are a bit dodgy now though, Paddy. That could have been the reason why. 4 games.
That's where you were clattering all those strikers.
Yeah.
Obviously Adam was a defender and I was a striker, so it was. But training was pretty tough. We used to get stuck into each other, didn't we? There was no holds barred, was there?
No, we had a few square ups and a few arguments, mate. Yeah, we enjoyed it.
If you could do it again,
absolutely. What
would you do different?
What would I do different now? That's a question mark. I don't know. I don't know that. I think I'd probably try and remember more. And I know that when you and I have talked before, and I was saying that it was so intense for each game that actually almost when that one was closed and put to bed, and you look forward to the next one, the one that happened last week or certainly the week before, I could barely remember it. So to remember those more and to record that more perhaps would have been great. But it was so in the moment, it was so intense, it was so full of passion. It was, and I don't know whether the kids realised that or not, or whether they were just thinking, we're just playing football, who cares what those old blokes are doing? Yeah. But yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it. And yourself, what do you think?
I think you've observed, kind of wearing the heart on the sleeve. I know now that actually those boys were going to get on and do what they were going to do, irrespective of our excellent management skills. They really were. But I think in the best possible cliche, like you in doing what we were doing with the boys, you were kind of living out a dream, watching them being able to have so much fun and achieve so much together. You live that out, right? So I think to myself that actually, had I ever found that moment to be just that little bit more relaxed and enjoy it a bit more, as you say, kind of like rather than living right in that kind of passion moment, they were well enough trained and they were talented enough as a football team that I don't think it would have. I don't think honestly it made a difference whether or not I lowered the decibel levels. I mean, my wife often comments that despite us living a mile away from Jubilee, that she could hear me from the back garden. so I'll probably just lower my voice occasionally and just letting them get on with it. But again, there's no apologies for me doing that, because that was just part of the excitement of of witnessing those boys just doing amazing things and just having so much potential. It's been a delight.
Yeah, I think
Very
probably
good.
at that point we should invite some of them in, don't you?
I think so. So James, you've been in since the beginning, right?
Since the beginning.
What would have been your highlight over those 10 years or so?
It's difficult to pick a highlight, but the first game sticks out because I remember it being such a surprise that we won 18-0. It's emphatic, isn't it? You know,
Michael Reeder scoring 6 goals.
yeah,
Yeah.
the difference in quality between our team and a lot of the other teams.
Immediately pretty obvious.
Yeah, and then every week is sort of a similar story, apart from we played Vinces and Beersted where
Over the title
yeah,
ones,
it was
wasn't
a
it?
difficult game, but
Yeah.
every week it would be like double figures.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. And then after that, it got sort of whittled down to being in the first division for a
Yeah,
while.
and in the second league it obviously gets more competitive. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember coming home and thinking, what?
Yeah.
It's going to be how it is from now on.
Yeah. Do you always feel like that? I bet you do.
Yeah, we were always dominant above most teams.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it felt. Obviously, the rivalries between some, Bearsted, Aylesford, yeah, but
That ebbed and flowed though, didn't it? Because at the
Yeah.
start it was Aylesford and
Yeah.
Vinces,
Mm.
and then later on, not so much so. And then,
Yeah.
you know, Bearsted weren't really an issue right at the start. I don't recall
No.
Bearsted
No.
being an issue at the start.
No.
But later on, they came in as a
But-
contender.
But we always scored a lot of goals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even I managed to get 35 goals in a season, and that doesn't.
I'm glad you got that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. We'll definitely cut that out.
Keep that in.
No, which just goes to show it's not all about speed then.
Back in the day, I had a little bit about me, but it's all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, talking of goals, I think my absolute high point was your goal in our cup final at the Gallagher. I mean, just like one of those things that you kind of go,
He
like,
hits
what
it.
are you doing?
Well, yeah.
Not that
It
we've
was-
heard it before, but talk us through it.
I mean, you haven't heard for the last 4 years, have you? Yeah, just running down that left wing, cutting in off that defender from, what was it, 35 yards, 40 yards?
And more.
And the rest.
Keep
Yeah.
going. It's like near the halfway
Yeah,
line.
just popping it from there and watching it float to that top corner.
It did went in the top
Yeah,
corner there.
it was
Really.
just-
Knew where it was
just-
going to as
just
well.
hit that top corner. Just
Once you hit it, you're like, it's only going one
Yeah.
place.
it didn't go anywhere else, did it?
No.
And yeah, falling over after that.
And then an audience basically
Yeah.
that witnessed something that shouldn't have happened.
No,
It only
that
happened
shouldn't have
for a
happened.
round.
Everyone was wondering if it was a cross.
You and your age group were the very first team of the Monarchs, weren't you?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Me being a little whippersnapper, just going up, watching you guys play and joining in whenever I could, because obviously you remember the first years when it started at Surrendon Field, because your dad obviously was one of the main instigators of forming the club.
That's right. He put together this sort of training situation in '69, managed to get enough people interested, and then we moved on to friendlies in 70, 71, and then we went from there.
It's fabulous, and some of the paperwork you've got here with some of the old names that involved. Remember all the guys.
Yeah, your brother
The brothers in there, Duncan.
scored 27 goals that season. Your brother,
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
but not as good as Neville Latter.
Neville Latter, yeah.
50 goals in one
50
season.
goals in one season. And I know I touched on it with Adam, that of the age groups, because Neville was the year above you,
Yes,
wasn't he?
yes.
So he moved on, and subsequently you didn't have those goals the following
No,
season.
we didn't. But Dave Patience then stepped up, was a regular goal scorer, fantastic forward.
Yeah,
And Neil Meadows from Cranbrook,
that's right.
very good player, very good
Yeah.
centre forward. So
Yeah.
Duncan on one wing, me on the other, and you of course had Ian Walker in
Yeah.
midfield with John Carl, and that was a pretty good midfield. Those
Yeah.
two. Very good.
Yeah.
So my favourite moment, also a goal of Josh's in the cup final against Leybourne at the Gallagher. The game we absolutely dominated and should have won, and in the sort of like 90th minute from the corner, bit of a scramble. Josh gets it in, everyone goes nuts. Just nicked it right at the end. Yeah, that was our first cup that we'd won together.
Yeah, that's
and it
when
was
it was
quite
at
near,
the
like
stadium.
only probably 4 years ago or something, 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
in front of everyone. It's pretty good.
Yeah, the Gallagher's good, isn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
They had a lot
such
of
an
cup finals.
occasion.
Yeah, and before then, all the presentation days that you used to do, you know, those
Yeah.
the big ones, the league ones.
Yeah.
To
We've
go
got
over
lots
for
of
those.
people watching.
Hmm?
Sometimes we're in the finals and sometimes we weren't, but if not, we're picking up league trophies.
Yeah. So I'm interested, because you three, along with a few others, were part of that nucleus that Stuart and I, like saw as little diddlers who were chasing around after Daddy Longlegs and stuff like that. But you stayed with the club, and Josie, you left briefly, but you came back, right? So I'm interested as a player what it was that kind of kept you there, because it wasn't because you didn't have other opportunities.
I think the fact that so many of us stayed together for so long was actually what kept us all together, because there was a group of maybe 6 of us that had always been there, and kind of like when you see each other every Sunday and for training, you almost like grow up together in a way. And by the end there was a lot of sort of camaraderie, which I now really miss, not playing football properly at uni. You don't get that anymore. And being like properly part of a group and a team, and the banter that goes with everything.
It's almost being like part of a family.
Yeah.
Like 12, 13 years. You sort of don't want to leave. It's hard to...
Yeah, it was...
It's emotional, though, isn't it?
It
does feel. I mean, that is like that was a proper part of it.
Yeah.
I think if it had been a random set of boys who weren't that connected but just played good football together, it would have been 50% of what it felt like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Josh and I were just saying outside, look, we've been playing since we were 6, 12 years, 25 game season. We've played near on 400 games together over the years, and us two, the 3 of us, haven't been there pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time that you spend together.
Yeah.
And of course, you were a very successful team. I mean, some of the teams you were playing against, just looking at this, Stockbridge, Seneca United, but I do remember very, very well that the Crusaders were your main rivals.
They were the toughest side there. They played in Moe Park, Long Valley, and the pitch was, not flat, and they were a very, very powerful side.
Yeah, I remember them being a strong team.
When we drew 4-4, we actually had to move from our normal pitch, and we played just down on Pagehurst Lane.
Right.
We managed to get a pitch there for, didn't we, Mum? One game, Pagehurst Lane, and Anthony Pert scored a cracking goal, 4-4. That's probably one of the best games we ever played against him, because we were never very successful against him.
Yeah, because looking at that, it's pretty impressive scoreline. You pretty much won every game. You got one you lost to Loose Eagles, and a couple there nearer the end of the season, but there's an 18-0 and a 16-1 there, so it was obviously a very strong team at the time, but there's some very close ones as well, 2-1s and 3-1s.
It was a pretty competitive league, actually. It was about the same strength, really.
Yeah.
You always thought Sutton Saints and Crusaders were the 2 teams that stood out.
Yeah. And you commented earlier, Jeff, about when the original kit.
The original kit for one season was blue and white. Why we changed, I have no idea what happened. They decided to go red and white, but
Because I remember deciding on the name of the club, and I remember there was a committee meeting, and there was various names put forward, including, I'm sure I'm correct in saying Staplehurst Rangers was certainly one of them, and Staplehurst United, I believe, and I don't remember actually who came up with the name, but then it was chosen as Staplehurst Monarchs.
No, I don't remember at all what it was.
And here we are, nearly 50 years later, on. And the club's thriving.
It certainly is.
So, funniest moment that happened together, because there's a lot of memories in there. Funniest thing.
We know what your one was.
Yeah.
I was hoping to ask the question.
Go on, Stu, tell a story.
Yeah,
Go on, tell a story.
Well, I have to tell Mark's one, don't I? Sorry, Mark. At the presentation day, that shot that was gonna go in,
Destined for toppings.
Yeah, and then Mark missed it completely, and was flat on the ground. The keeper was crying almost. And much of us were crying, really, because it was just the miss of the century, wasn't it?
So it was sort of like the Wayne Rooney goal, but without
actually
any
hitting the
timing.
ball. That was it.
To this day, I think that probably was the best signal ever that I'd kind of reached an age where football was not to be part of my life.
That air swing,
So
purely dignity killer. I think sort of as it went on as well, it just got funnier how people would turn up hungover on a Sunday morning.
The warm-ups. Mark's trying to grill us and the boys just can't be bothered.
Everyone's just sort of 6 hours
Hour
sleep.
before the game,
Yeah.
so the kids start a hard routine, get to the game, dead.
Michael's got his black face.
Yeah.
He's been working in the morning.
Brilliant.
So Jeff, I'm just on the sentimental side of things. We're nearly 50 years down the line from when your dad and the other guys formed the club, and here we are. We've got 14 teams, 4 of which are girls, and 10 boys teams. How do you think your dad would look on it now? What would his feelings be on it?
I think he'd be amazed and very humble and great success, from the early days, getting it, Charlie Roberts, Peter Davey, all helped him get it going originally, and I think he'd be very proud now, very proud.
Yeah, because he was quite a humble man,
Yes.
but very well respected by everyone within the club.
Yes.
I remember being one of the slightly younger players than yourself, how everyone had so much respect for him and all the coaches. And I think that goes through to the guys that are running the teams now. And obviously, from your dad's point of view, your nephew Zach is playing.
Yeah, little Zach's playing now, yes.
So it would be I would imagine he'd be very proud, wouldn't he?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. All the hard work he put in, he'd be well proud.
And looking through this documentation, he put so much time and effort into it, and it's wonderful that your mum's kept all this and made it available to everyone within the club.
I think I want to mention how proud I was of all of you, and although it didn't in the end go our way, the year that we had that match with Stuart Bell's team and Stuart was ill and and all of that, and then at the end of that, when we sadly lost and it hadn't gone our way, to be recognised not just locally but across Kent and winning the Fair Play Award for the whole of Kent was a massive achievement.
Yeah.
And certainly for me, as the football was always important, but I always thought it was important to try and teach you lads something about life as well in that. And in connection with that, I remember Max and I were talking about earlier the Swale Magpies tournament semi-final, final rather, and we lost it. And those Swale boys were completely in our faces about the fact that they just won. And I remember taking you away and saying, we will never ever behave like that, because I knew that you were always going to win stuff.
Yeah.
And to win with dignity, and that was important to me, and I tried to get that across to you. So always very proud when we did win and we won well, and we lost well as well. To be fair, when games didn't go our way, sometimes we should have won. We know that's what happens in football, but you take it well. You're respectful to the other team, so
it's always important.
That's sort of the lasting impact of the experience. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously you got the memories, but it's shaped all of us because we're so young.
Yeah, and we're probably part of a team for a while. That is beyond the football. That is important.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
And a lot of us still keep in touch and stuff, even though we've all gone to uni.
Yeah, 100%.
Just because of the football.
And I remember I can't remember exactly how the club badge was formed, but I remember a particular funny story when we were on one of our French trips. I had a rosette, which was a Staplehurst Monarchs club rosette with this. It just had the big S and the crown on it, and it was the day we were on the ferry across to France to do our twinning trip, and it was the day Sunderland had beaten Leeds in the FA Cup in 1973, and this was the all-conquering Leeds team at the time. And there were some Sunderland fans on there, and obviously I was only 10 or 11 years old, and they were having a big celebration that they'd won the cup, and they thought this big S badge with a crown on it was a Sunderland badge, and I wasn't brave enough to tell them that it was a Staplehurst Monarchs badge, but it's a nice remembrance I've got about that.
of course, we had an entire year as, and everyone remembers Arsenal, but they should have remembered Staplehurst Monarchs.
Of course.
Like, we were invincibles for a year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had the beginning of the season, first half until about December time. I don't know if you remember, but we just could not win. We lost. It got to Christmas time and we were sort of second from bottom, like 2 wins on the table, and that just didn't really happen for us.
But always by about a goal, right?
Yeah, it was so frustrating.
Yeah,
It was not like we were getting battered all the time at all. And so we came back in January. Something had to change. I remember our first game that we had really sort of changed it around was against Kings Hill. It was just like a 1-0
Was that theirs?
at theirs away, and from then on we just did not stop winning. And we'd fortunately started a bit of a cup run when we were losing in the league, so we won the cup that year. That was the Leybourne win, and then we carried that form over into the next season and were just unplayable in the league the next year. Won that league pretty comfortably. I just remember just game after game, and just so solid defensively. I think having Jamie and Perry was it at the back.
Yeah, solid.
We didn't concede many goals at all.
And he bulked up the midfield as well, right? It was one of those strange things. You said, so we just sort of stumbled across something that just suddenly worked, right? We had a
new formation.
Suddenly had we had a really solid 3 centre midfielders, and suddenly no one can play against us. No one can work out what we've done.
Right. And Joel scored a ridiculous amount of goals up front as well, which he was sort of the talisman at the front.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
It worked that season.
Yeah,
It really did work that season.
and then sort of winning the cup in the middle was a nice little sort of, because that was a sort of recognition. Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
When you're old and grey like Mark and I, you'll still remember it.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing you hold on to.
It's a
Not many
huge
people do.
achievement. It's a huge achievement.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
We really played off it for a while, sort of gave us that motivation. Then we were down at half time, you'd be like, boys, we're not giving up this unbeaten record and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you did it.
I can't even remember it coming to an end, really.
No, I think it was
No,
in
You
the
know, we're
cup.
still unbeaten.
Still now. Forever.
So Tim, obviously you were involved at the very start of the Monarchs and the absolute first years. What are your memories from when it all initially started?
Well,
and the people involved as well.
Right, I mean, I was at school at the Staplehurst Primary School, and there was 3 parents that gave up their time to run the school team, not anything to do with the school. It was Chip Chipperfield, Charlie Roberts and Peter Davey. And then they realised there really wasn't much of an organised football team in the village and even surrounding villages. So they actually got together, put a lot of time in, and they decided to form Staplehurst Monarchs Boys. And we actually joined a league in Maidstone Primary League, and we sort of played against about 10 teams, I think, then. And there wasn't many teams, but certainly very enjoyable.
Yeah, we had a long chat with Jeff earlier, and it's quite unbelievable because his mum Joan, Chip's wife, has still got all the documentation from those very first years, and score lines and players involved and letters between us and the French people and everything. It's incredible memorabilia to still have with us.
There we go.
For some of these photos,
Let's have a little look.
starting right from the beginning. Little sit at the front.
What's this? Probably
This
a
was-
presentation day.
Is that a tournament, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always pretty good at those ones at the beginning. Got a few of them
Look,
trophies
that's
kicking around.
It's an iconic kit as well.
That is.
That's
It is.
just.
Is that the first
Still
one?
got that in my sports show, I reckon.
Probably,
I should have bought that.
Look at you, mate, you dodgy
Yeah,
barnet.
these are the other teams as well. That's Holtwood. That's probably Kings Hill, you know?
But that's
That's
Roskilde, yeah. Sure.
Vintage in the green.
There we
Classic,
go.
classic, classic.
Let's get a
Josh,
chicken
you've got to
nickname.
explain that. You've got to
That's the
explain bar.
okay. So this was the what was that 6?
Yeah.
6 or 7? Yeah. Just the mohawk down the middle, shape size.
It's iconic.
It was because I used to like gel it up and then colour it red for the team, obviously, and then
For the big games.
add the nickname Chickenhead.
We all had some pretty dodgy barnets, to be
Yeah,
fair.
Max,
like,
what's
it's
it's
not
like
great.
a mop on your head.
Suspect.
Yeah, you got mum playing for that one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Here we go.
Champions. This is
There we
in
go.
Ashford. This is the Ashford tournament.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
tournament win.
Michael with his bright orange hair.
Original.
That
Michael's
is
been
the
in
buzz
since-
cut. So Seal, you're there. Yeah. I'm up here. James, you're
next to Tom.
Here.
Yeah.
Tournaments were good, though, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were like, that was a good weekend.
Yeah.
If you win a tournament, it's sorted for the holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what's crazy about that is the number of us that were still there at the end.
Yeah.
Like from this is under 8s. There's 5 of us.
2, 3.
Us 4 all there.
Yeah, we're
George
all
was-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
George
George
was
there for a
there
long
till the
time.
Myself and Adam and Jeff touched on some resounding memories we had that really stand out. I know you've got a couple here, one about actually the first trophy that the club ever won, which you've got your medal there.
Yeah, this was the 1971-72 season. It was Division 2 runners-up, but that was the first trophy we won. It's the first trophy I've ever had, and went on to win quite a few more with the club, and so it was very good. And I remember they did organise trips to France, to Montreuil-sur-le-Mer, and I went a few times, but unfortunately on one of the times we played a team that turned out they were 3 or 4 years above us in age group.
Yeah, Jeff commented on that, actually.
Yeah, and we had a bit of a rough time, and I actually ended up in hospital. I got kicked in the back when I was on the ground, and I was lying on a bed there waiting to be examined, and another teammate of mine came in as well into the hospital, and he got kicked in the face and cut his head and needed stitches. But luckily neither of us were really seriously injured, and we ended up going, because it was only a day trip, whereas after that they went on overnight trips as well. And so as I say, it was a day trip, so we did make the coach back and returned back to Staplehurst, all safe and well.
Yeah, I remember that actually. What I don't know if you remember it or not, Tim, but one of our first under-12 manager, Lionel Henson, one of his jobs was he made diaries, and we were given these diaries. Were your age group given them?
I do remember
You
them. I
remember
think we
them, yeah.
probably were actually.
So I've
yeah.
still got this diary from 1974, and I kept score lines of all our matches of our team. So this would have been when we were in the under-12s. I'll just revert back to one item I've put in here. Played Seneca 171 and I got 4, so I'd just like to mention that. Along with that, these are, like Tim, I've kept all my medals, and these are my first medals. That was the under-12 74-75 season and the previous season, I believe. So there's a few of my little medals there, and although I've got more on display, I know you have got a lot more medals than the one you brought with you, Tim. With the club now having so much involvement in the village, what are your thoughts on how would you have envisaged it to have turned out like this, with the club being so big in the village? Because you've had involvement in later years as well, haven't you?
Yeah, when I first joined as a player, I would never ever thought it was got as big as it did, because I never ever thought Staplehurst would get as big as it has. But you obviously evolve. If the village gets bigger, then hopefully the teams will get bigger, because you've got more of a pool of people to call on. But that's what's happened, and from what I can see, it's really run very. I'm not so involved so much now, but from what I can see, it's run very well.
And getting back to your career, because I know after the first couple of years, you ended up playing. You played in the team that was coached by my dad.
I did, yeah.
And you did understand his strong Irish accent, I believe.
After many years, considering I'd known him a long time before I started playing football. But he ran one of the teams I played for, and again that was very successful and very enjoyable. And I played also my age group, because I was playing for him above my age group. Then I played for my age group in the mornings or the afternoons. I can't remember which way it was. And eventually, we didn't have a goalkeeper, so I actually volunteered, because I used to get quite tired playing twice a week. I volunteered to go and goal, and then I stayed there for a couple of seasons, unfortunately, in that team. But then went back to playing on the pitch again. So it's very enjoyable. All the teams I've played for in the Monarchs were very enjoyable.
Oh, this is the label. This is your goal.
Oh, is it?
Go. Yeah. This was the one where we won the last minute.
This was the banger of a goal.
So how many years? That was 5 years ago.
Almost got it still.
Almost. One day.
Yeah, maybe not.
So many emphasis. That was funny though, because your name got called out. You were like one of the ones who was back on the halfway line.
I thought you were on the bench.
Couldn't believe it.
No, I remember being on my own half, and then they called my name, and I was so surprised, but I just thought I'd take it anyway.
Everyone celebrated with
Got nothing wrong with stuff like that.
Just got to take it on the chin.
Top half seals, yellow card.
This must have been a stage when we all decided we want to gel our hair up as high as possible.
Clearly.
A bit gravity defying at the time.
Yeah.
Finish.
So this was, who's this? Sittingbourne? Or Swale?
Yeah, it looks like
Some sort of respect.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's an interesting picture. I don't know how we do that.
Do you remember why that happened? Us all mixed in with them? Some sort of respect or fair play? Or...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This is when we just found out we won the league.
Yeah.
Just beat
Yeah.
Kings Hill, and then we got a phone call from Nick Terry, manager of Bears, that had beat Sittingbourne for us.
They've done us for the season.
Yeah, some of the boys already halfway towards the car park. I was screaming for them to come back.
The pilots are getting longer and longer.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think what's amazing is like the number of times, like every single season, it seemed like we won something,
Yeah.
and I feel like we kind of maybe took that for granted at the time. It was just
Yeah.
How
it happened
successful
so
we were.
often,
Yeah, you think there's a lot of teams that will go through.
and like
And how gutted we'd be if we didn't win anything as well.
yeah, and
And
how
not
like
to have
that's,
a cup, how much of a big deal that was.
Yeah.
and that success doesn't necessarily like
It's the
carry on
standards.
like
No.
in later life, but it just sort of seems so constant.
Where did you play your first cup finals for the club then, Tim?
Well, we actually played at Pennington Heath. That was the one of the first cup finals I played at. But unfortunately, at the time, grounds like Maidstone and Tonbridge were probably out of our reach because it probably cost quite a bit of money. But I think in your teams and just after us, you actually played at some grounds like Maidstone, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We played pretty much all our cup finals throughout my career with the Monarchs at the old London Road Maidstone Stadium. And I remember when you were a 12-year-old going to Maidstone Stadium with a stand and everything and going up to collect the cups and that. It was literally for us like being at Wembley. It was fabulous times, and obviously Maidstone United moved on from those days and they're now at the Gallagher. But it was you get big crowds of lots of people come from Staplehurst to support us and friends and family and different age groups, and so they were a real big day. And if you won, it was a huge event in your young lives actually. So and still to this day, years and years later, we still talk about those matches and remember them, don't we? So
Yeah. Oh yes.
very special times.
One of Mark's warm-ups.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Rigorous.
Everyone's sweating.
Only 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Everyone's got cramp actually.
Yeah. That was it. They were notorious. You did not want to turn up 45 minutes before a Sunday League game.
Turn up late. I'd start on the bench. I didn't have to warm up.
Like Premier League style warm up with cones and everything.
There we go.
I remember sometimes we go to away games and the other team wasn't even there. The pitch hadn't even been marked, and we were
No
still
nets
there.
are up,
Mark was
no
like, making us
flags.
do laps and-
Working hard. This was Jim. Shout out to Jim. To
Yeah.
be fair.
Jim was
the man.
Big
trained
shout.
us well, wasn't it?
It was good. What did we win here? Oh, this is the cup
It's the
final.
cup
It's
final.
not
Yeah,
fair.
there's another one.
Yeah, we won this one.
This
What
was
was it?
easy.
6-2 or something?
Yeah, and even then, like the last goal was so far offside, but they just.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
that
where Fullerhan, the striker, spent the season in goal.
Yeah.
Is this
And
the
this
final?
I think it's the last one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Last
emotional.
season.
Final boys.
Wow, last man standing.
Yeah.
Where were you, sir?
Wasn't there? I was retired by that point.
We're still there though, boys. Though.
But look how
Still
many
there.
of them from the beginning. But
Yeah.
you, myself, James.
Yeah. Four of us.
My favourite memory was winning the Spring Cup. I like winning the cup final. I like making new friends. I liked the goal I scored when I was on the floor. I felt like they helped me get better because when I joined the club I knew nothing about football. Now I'm at a really high level. At least I think.
I love how everyone's really supportive and no matter what, they won't give up and they'll just be there for you for the whole time you're at the club. And even when you leave, they'll support you with another team, even if you're playing against them. They're just nice people. My favourite moment was when I was 10 and I scored my first goal against Planet Colts when, well, it was just really cool. I remember I was so happy I wanted to cry and my team were just hugging me and high-fiving me, and all the parents were cheering, my coach was cheering, my manager was cheering. It was just great.
I've been fortunate to look after these kids since I was 5 years old. I love the way that sometimes they just surprise me by how they can take on a player with a lot of confidence. When you think they're just going to hoof it out or boot it, they take a bit of time and composure and really look after each other out there on the pitch. And the way that they also work as a team solidly most of the time is very impressed. I'm very pleased with the way they're progressing, and it sort of surprises me how they get better and better each week.
Privileged to be asked to, work with Nick and work with these kids and that. And I think the most pleasing thing for me is seeing the hard work that they put in at training coming off in a match. Really is, it's amazing to see that they take stuff on board, they really listen, and then just to follow that through in a game situation, culminating in winning the cup final last season was a big plus for us, and it really showed that they are amazing kids and they're only going to get better as well.
I just love that we work as a team, really.
In the mixed team, I found that I didn't play as good as I can because I was always trying to compare myself to the boys, because I've always played with the boys and they've always been much harder or better than anyone else I've played against. So I was always trying to push myself, but I ended up failing and making a fool of myself. But with a girls' team, I've just been happy where I am, and I've been playing with people my level. So it's been much more fun. And when I was in a mixed team, I only got to play in one tournament where I didn't get played that much. But playing with the girls' team, they let me play every match. And, I only get subbed when I need to. So it's been much better playing with the girls' team than a mixed.
I think it's the organisation, which I like. The organisation is by so few, but for so many. We don't meet every week. We meet as a committee perhaps every 6 weeks. We always have a full agenda. We have an incredible committee who cover so many things. We are red hot on well-being and health and safety. And we have one dedicated chappie to do that. We have a couple of ladies who now sit on our committee. And we're indebted to the gentleman sitting on my left, who has been club secretary for a long while and spends many hours, not just a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning, working for the club. But the real pleasure, Buzz, is to see the kids enjoy themselves. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. For me, the fact that we are providing sport for 190 kids at the moment, plus, and it's growing. It's even growing this week. So I'm sure it will exceed 200 easily. And I think it especially comes home to me at presentation day. It's the one morning in the season where all our teams are together, and you can really think, wow, we've done this, and really comes home to you, doesn't it? The next step for us as a club and for Staplehurst as a community, I think, because it's not just about the football, is to go for a 3 or 4G pitch with floodlighting, because at the moment we can't play it where we are all year round because, 1, the drainage, and 2, the light, and that would be what we'd hope to do, and it's going to require an effort from the village and the local community as a whole in order to make that happen.
The way things are going, this is a public playing field that we play on. It's owned by the parish council, and there is only so much room. Now, the club has grown, as you've heard earlier, immensely in the last 5 years, just the last 5 years. Now, what's going to happen in 2022, 23, 24, 25, if we've got 250 youngsters? There won't be enough facilities for them to play on. It genuinely is good for the village because we play almost large parts of the county now. And the name of Staplehurst Monarchs, the way they present themselves, is terribly important. And I certainly have had some compliments passed my way from other clubs to say that the team throughout the age range behaved very well, presented themselves very well, and played the game in the right spirit.